All right. So, what is your job? What are you actually doing? What are your responsibilities? So, as a supervisor, you're responsible for all the other facility staff. So, each shift, you are the leader. You're the one overseeing the other FOAs, the MSR, and the lifeguards. You're responsible for safety and risk management, which there'll be some increased duties in regards to that this year. You'll have some cleaning responsibilities as you go on your rounds. We'll have electrostatic spray guns that you'll be able to use to help disinfect door handles and the turnstiles and things like that when you go around the building on your rounds. Knowing the facility schedule, so being aware of who's supposed to be in the building at all times and who is not. Again, going to be especially important this year as everyone who's in the building needs to have a reservation, whether that's as a group or as an individual in the fitness center or the pool. We'll get to how that's going to work more in our live session. But again, the EMS facility schedule is going to be especially important. And then daily duties. So there are things in your SharePoint shift report that you're going to be responsible for. In addition to EMS, there might be some tasks such as raising or lowering hoops, checking to make sure a group is in the building and all set, opening doors, unlocking doors, stuff like that. Team mentality. So thinking about how there's times when you're going to maybe have to cover for the MSR or a lifeguard at the check-in desk or an FOA if somebody doesn't show up, and how that's going to work, where we're going to need people, especially going to be important this year with the FOAs to make sure we're still sending people in for reservations. How can the MSR assist with that? And also, making sure we have coverage in the fitness center at all times as well. Never leave the fitness center unattended, so that'll also go for the upper track this year with all the equipment up there. So those two areas should always have an attendant in them. And thinking about if somebody weren't to show up, how can we leave the turnstile vacant and still be able to sign people in? So that probably means the MSR is going to have to sign people in for the fitness center if there's no FOA at the turnstile. But otherwise, we always need to have people up in those two spaces. And if somebody isn't here, you might need to cover in one of those spaces until we can find a replacement. Not my job, so thinking about little things that might come up, whether you see a chair that's out of place or a puddle in a hallway, addressing those things as opposed to just sort of walking by and pretending like you didn't see them. So there's things that aren't in your job description maybe that you can step up and do and address. And that's sort of part of being a leader, is thinking of places you can seek those things out to make things safer, to make things more enjoyable, going out of your way to give someone directions or showing somebody around the buildings, things like that. Staff issues, if someone's late more than 5 minutes, no calls, no shows. And then, we have these incident reports on SharePoint where you can report what happened, the details. I think it's important to, keep up with people being late, especially once it gets beyond 5 minutes, calling them, making sure they're on their way, making sure they're okay, not assuming that they are, missing their shift on purpose or they're just blowing it off, but, give them the benefit of the doubt. You never know if someone it's a safety issue or they're having a medical emergency or something. So always give them the benefit of the doubt, but still try to address it on the early side so it's easier to find a replacement if you need to. And then no calls, no shows, making sure we're trying to find a replacement as quickly as possible, using Wonderwork to view availability of people. And we'll show that in our live session, but addressing these things and not just letting them sort of slide because, again, things will continue to mount and then become more and more difficult to address as it becomes habit. And then customer service, if we're not providing the service we should be, thinking about ways to adjust that. How can you send the message that you're noticing that maybe someone isn't performing their job duties up to the level that they should be, but also making sure you're being understanding and empathetic if they have something else going on, if they need assistance, if they just don't understand something, and thinking of strategies to do that, which we'll discuss later on as well. And then people not just completing the duties of their jobs. If they're not cleaning the fitness center, if they're not greeting people, how can you address those things in a way where people are going to respect you and understand that you are paying attention, and they do have to hold up their end of the bargain with their job duties, and that's why we're paying them to be here. And great work must be recognized. So this is one there's no exception for. If someone is doing a great job, you got to let them know, reinforce that behavior, and that's how people will continue to do a good job.